is September 10th, 2024. We are ASCOA. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast. Unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 375-414-6055 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.mass.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100 prior to the meeting. I called the meeting to order.
I move we accept the agenda as posted.
Second.
So
then if there's no,
there's, so-
did you have revisions to the agenda or?
do we have revisions to the agenda?
I don't see any.
Unless you want to strike my director's report, but I'm going to speak verbally, so we'll leave it on there.
Okay, so approve the amendment of the agenda.
Any further discussion?
Any further discussions?
Nope.
No, seeing none. I move this unanimous.
I
All
think
votes? We have voted to approve the agenda. Okay. The goals for the board for the coming year. What would we like to see accomplished? By June of 2025, what would we like to see the board do?
I would say we got the location. I changed locations because I didn't want to be bothered with Shirley. I shouldn't say that, but in the public section, but I didn't want to be bothered with voting for Shirley. Shirley included in that. I shouldn't say it that way. I didn't want to be bothered with Shirley having a vote.
With Shirley having a vote?
No, having to vote.
Oh, I don't think Shirley, the town of Shirley wouldn't have had to vote on that
Yeah.
site, but no.
No.
All right.
But I think were you suggesting supporting of the building process as a goal for
Well,
the
yeah,
COA board?
I moved that.
Well, Bobby, at this point, I think we're just trying to come up with general ideas about what we as a board would like to see happen between now and the end of June next year.
Yeah.
And I think, supporting obviously the new building is obviously a pretty significant part of what we'll be doing next year, for the remainder of this year and next. Do you have any ideas about how the board can do that?
Well, I think I read a text, my niece read it to me on, what was that thing? I get all these big stuff,
Oh, the one you were talking to me about on
Yeah.
Facebook?
Hmm.
Facebook.
Mhm.
And someone said they should have the bright idea, they should spend limit us to $1 million. And, I don't subscribe to that theory. And I want to see it get built as soon as I can.
To be honest, we won't get much for that, $1 million.
Yeah. You probably might not even get the infrastructure in.
So what are, I mean, that does bring up a good point, like, in what ways do we think the COA board can be supportive of that? Or did you want, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh.
take over. Did you want to go through all the goals first or?
Well, I think we need to look at how we can outreach to the community. And I think communication is a big one. And under communication, I think one of the things we can do is we want to draw people in to the senior center. The more we can get people in, the more we're going to open the eyes to people. What we have, what we need, how much we need a senior center. And maybe using and finding out how we can use the sign at the firehouse. Sorry, that's my city girl. Fire station on Park Street. And Katie, if you pick a monthly or two after that one's gone, another monthly event.
Okay, I can do that.
Do they only, put up one sign at a time, or do they rotate them? Like they'll have 6 of them and each of them is up there for a couple of minutes, or is it just?
It's a rotating. Cause my grandsons love reading that and they're like, baseball?
Right, but within a month. Will you have, like, for 4 minutes, one sign is up and then it goes off and
It's
then
not
another
even
sign
4
goes-
minutes. It's like a,
So I think as a,
to realize.
so I think a task could be for someone to reach out and find out, yeah, how that's not, I think Cindy.
I will
I
be
think
happy to
Cindy
do that.
manages that.
Yeah, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Then we
But-
can find out the answer to that.
Because I think that's a really popular,
Okay.
and I think if every month you pick it. You know, like the October trip or the.
Mhm.
Something here that's big
Yeah. Agree.
or something that's going on here. I know
Great idea.
that's not a trip that's here.
Right, no, I think just advertising,
Mhm.
bringing awareness to people who wouldn't otherwise. Be reading the newsletter, I think that would be the main goal of that firehouse sign would be. To catch attention outside of our normal readers or normal subscribers, so I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, having the notice be. You know, new senior center newsletter, go to da 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 da.
Mhm.
And even if you're not getting it, you can have. Sign up for,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Alright.
you know,
Are there any activities here that
Oh.
are unsubscribed? That you feel could benefit from greater, or is, I mean, my general sense of things has been that. Things are filling up pretty quickly and that there are a lot of activity, like you. If, I guess, how much more excess capacity do you have that could handle?
Yes, it depends on the event, like lunches, not so much, lunches are pretty close to full. Most days, but exercise, I have plenty of room in, bingo, there's plenty of room in, the cards and games, you know, wax and wane. So I think advertising the programs would serve two goals. One would be to increase usage of the center,
Yeah.
right? And one would be to increase broader awareness of, I didn't even know the senior center had lunch every day, you know, so it wouldn't necessarily be that it's being put up there to recruit people in. That would be the most, but it could achieve that other purpose too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and right now we have mock lunches on Monday and every other Friday, so, you know, that's always an opportunity to grow
Mhm.
within the space too.
Yeah. Community, yeah, go Mayor.
I think we need a cohesive communication plan with how we target different groups. You have got groups that will read the newsletter. You have people that will use social media to find out things. But you also have a large group that are still working. That as they move into that retirement age, you want to make them aware of here. How do you get them into that broad thing? And it should be a consistent message across all of the medias
Mhm.
and all of the different age groups so that, you know, somebody who Barbara's granddaughter who's turning 50 hears it and says they have the same message and the same understanding of what's going to happen. Different ways to communicate with people, but it's the same.
So I will, this just occurred to me. Do we have any sense of how many people are, you know, in their 40s, 50s perhaps, are helping care for or are living with their parents or are caring with an elderly relative at home? Do you have any sense of that at all? Any numbers?
I don't have any numbers. The only way I think you'd be able to really know that is if you went through the town census and looked at every repeat address or every repeat name,
Yeah.
which would be tedious, right? But you could look at, do you have more than
Yeah,
two people of adult age? You know what I'm saying? Like, because if you looked at registered voters, for example, you could narrow that list from
Yeah.
9,900 down.
So does that registered voter list have a birth date in it?
But that could be a fake. Because. We have a 40-something. She doesn't take care of us.
Right, I guess what I'm saying is that would be
Mhm.
the closest you could get to it. I don't think we
Yeah.
could get any closer than that without any, and that would be cohabitating, right? There's plenty of people that care
yeah,
without
I don't think, I
cohabitating.
mean,
so-
I'm not looking for you know, I'm not looking
Yeah.
to achieve academic certainty. It's more, so what if just at a select board meeting, we make an announcement
Yeah.
That if there are, you know, individuals who are, and I'm not exactly sure, maybe you can help with the phrasing, caring for, living with, that is, who out there in the community is an elderly relative or caring for or living with, and have them kind of reach out to either a member of the Council on Aging board, yeah, have them reach out to a member of the, you know, email us. And essentially
So
just let us know you're there, and then we can reach out to them and say, are there any kinds of things that we could be doing that would be helpful for you?
So one of the things I would like Brittany and Mary Ellen to start on is some more community education series. And caregiver support is a caregiver support group, like you could even call it a meetup or whatever, is a really good starting place for that. So I probably would prefer that before we do that, that we get that running and then go to the select board and say, hey, for anyone who is doing that, we wanted to let you know that we have this specific resource rather than reaching out into.
And do you envision that, and again, we're just talking here, do you like a weekly support group, a monthly support group? I mean, just the kind of people to get
Monthly.
together and talk. And,
Monthly, yeah, otherwise it gets too burdensome.
all right.
Did the hospital have something that was up there At one, I know the hospital's closed, but didn't they have a
They-
caregiver group? or-
They probably did. I wasn't aware of what they had been
Okay.
doing recently. There's a grief group that meets, their last meeting will be next month at the library. They ran out of funding, so, there's a number of what I call outreach or social work specific programs that I want that team to get going on. So that's in the works.
How does that, how do you see the board playing a part in some of that from, even from that advocacy point of view or from that?
Well. I would say probably the easiest way, the most direct way would be for this board to continue to support and assist and remind the town manager's office that I need that second full-time driver because we're spending a lot of time dispatching rides right now. So Mary Ellen's time is disproportionately spent on transportation, based on what she's hired to do. So that's very helpful. The board could also be helpful, trying to assist me setting up a more regular, we had that social policy intern from Fitchburg State.
Yep.
She was wonderful, be it in social work, any of an intern that could be helpful with some of the social media work, because there's a lot of communication that could be put out, a communications major, any public relations major. Those tasks are really entry-level tasks because I could give someone the messaging and then they could put together the product. They're very vital and very time-consuming and something I'm having trouble fitting in. So I think that's two simple ways.
Did,
Is it not to interrupt him, as it would just on that same type of topic, is the town manager's office resistant to the second driver?
No,
Or
they're
is it
very
just that-
supportive. They've just been
Mhm.
overwhelmed with all the hospital
With all
stuff.
the stuff that's going on
And
there?
so, just trying to, and I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, that
No,
anybody would be
I'm
overwhelmed.
Literally under the bus.
I'm not looking to
but
assess
yeah,
blame, I'm just
yeah.
looking to find out whether or not, and how that, because that would also play into how that message goes to them,
Right,
And-
exactly.
you know, and that type of
and
stuff.
did the additional state funding, to mitigate the difficulties associated with the hospital closing, did any of that funding flow down to you folks, or is that available for the?
It's, everything I've read is that it's for upgrading of ambulance equipment. To make it all the, there's the two types of ambulances,
Basic and
Advanced
ALS.
the basic, and to make them
Yeah.
all ALS.
All ours
capable.
are at ALS.
They
I mean,
also
Groton's and Devon's and Shirley's
they
are.
also need the staff too, they have
All
to
of
be,
ours are
And
supposed to
then
be.
also,
but not
there's-
everybody else, that
Right.
would be just.
but we have what, the two ambulances plus the vehicle, and then the vehicle isn't I don't know how, you'd have to,
No, all
I
right.
defer to the fire department how
Yeah.
they're planning to,
Yeah.
if they're planning to go after any of that money or not, but everything I read was that it didn't apply to us.
And would it be helpful? And again, we've touched on this. Would it be helpful? I mean, Robert has been supportive,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
and call our state representative and say, how about the senior center? Or call Robert and say, helpful, but we need the money, or
In what sense? For,
that is for the second full-time driver.
oh, I think that's a matter of, the town manager's office sitting down with Bruno, who's the head of Mart, and just saying, hey, we're going to do this. Because
Yeah.
the driver themselves, there's already a line item on the monthly reimbursement for the second person, because they were per diem. The per diem driver there exists, so it's just a matter of having what could be a brief conversation to sort of authorize that one to be like, here's the sign off on it becoming the full-time person. And then the van itself actually is probably a little bit more involved, because that's an inventory issue, it's a maintenance issue, it would involve changes to the town insurance policy. That one's a little bit more layered. Again, all in the town manager's office.
I know
But
it's only been a week. I didn't mean to cut you off, Dennis. But do we have any numbers of how that closing has increased the calls but decreased service? Because it's not just a quick run to.
I was gonna speak to that a little bit more in
Okay.
the director's report portion of.
So
Yeah.
in terms of the van. That would be a marked van,
It would be in our van, yeah.
so the town isn't gonna need to lease it or buy it out, right? We just.
No, but it goes into it's what town uses in marked services.
Yeah.
Is used to calculate the assessment we pay from the transportation authority each year. So, I think those funds that are coming for the closure of the hospital aren't gonna go towards public transit at all. That would be a great use of that money, though,
Right.
would be to say, if it's gonna cost an extra 50, 80, $100,000, whatever it is, to add the second van and the driver,
Right.
could we take money from that? That'd be between town manager's office and the state for that, but
Is there still the Mark bus that goes to Devon's?
it doesn't go to Devon's. There is a bus in Devon that leaves from Devon's and goes to the hospitals and stuff.
Oh, but it
But it,
doesn't come back this way. It's just sort of like a one-way.
It's terminals, not terminal stuff, but because it goes, it's a Leominster and Fitchburg, then it stops at Mount Wachusett Community College campus there in Devon's. And then it goes on.
oh,
Yeah.
but there's one that goes from the train to the businesses.
I'm not aware of that,
Oh, yeah.
so.
I'm not aware.
Yeah, there's one that picks up people at the train and brings them up.
Up to Devon's, okay, so that's a different,
Yeah, I don't, I
Yeah.
wasn't aware.
Mhm.
so.
Be interesting if,
I was wondering if there was some way to get another potential stop, but if it's not back and forth, that makes it more difficult. You can get them one way,
Right.
but not back.
So there's a lot of different ways to structure additional transportation
Yeah.
in town. Many of them are outside the purview of the council on aging, so.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
Mart has done many studies, many meetings about the need for, and people keep suggesting a fixed route here in town. That's outside of the scope
Yeah.
of the COA. But us getting a second van and a second driver could do one of two things. I mean, I could use some time dispatching in the building, and then, like, it would be great if we could, when Sam concludes his day at 4 o'clock, if there was another shopping run that happened at 4 o'clock with the same van or with a different van.
Yeah.
You could run some duplicates of that. More evening, the van trips that tend to fill up, you could do more of them if there was another driver. The other opportunity is to say, Sam will continue to run on demand to all these places, but the second van driver will run a circuit through town and take many people off of Sam's van onto the circuit. And then, so there's a lot of different ways to structure it. I think first we just need, in terms of the goals, the advocacy for that second driver.
So it would appear that, and from the time that they announced, and it's been 3 months now anyway, since they announced that the hospital would be closing. Or something close to that. That the additional van and driver, I mean, politically, it would seem like this is a propitious time to be saying, if we need to get to more regular medical appointments, if we need to go a little bit further to get to medical appointments, because it would appear that in terms of the long-term health of the people who live here, access to regular medical appointments and access to their PCP is probably the single most important, valuable thing that the town could do. I mean, there are no number of ambulance calls that could replace a well-timed visit to your PCP to get you straightened out.
Right.
So all of that to say that I'll be happy to reach out to the town manager's office and see what they.
As a board, that should have a consistent message.
Or does the board want to write them a Or
Well, it
does the
should come
board want
like
to write
all
him a
of us.
letter?
Well,
4 versus 1,
Um,
but it should be, I think it should be a pretty consistent message from all of us.
Well, I think the message is, and I'm sure Katie's been advocating for this, all is that there are substantial benefits that would accrue to the seniors
Yeah.
in town in terms of attending medical appointments and access to community and shopping trips and all the rest of it. With the addition of a second van and a second full-time driver, that the current van and the current full-time driver are at capacity or even over capacity, you know.
and do we have to wait for the next meeting for you to write a letter and can you,
Even, I think an email probably just. so-
or can you
Get an
bring it
email
here
working
and
as
can
well?
we all sign it and can you get to?
No,
the-
I'll be happy to write a letter, run it past you, and then just do it.
Like I said, I mean,
But if we all sign it,
So I think
Well,
I think
actually,
you have to,
vote.
I
on-
think you would need to vote to authorize Dennis to write the letter. Because otherwise, if everybody's gonna come together to do that, that really is advancing business
Yeah.
outside the meeting.
Yeah.
So, I think if you authorize him to write it,
Mhm.
then you have in the meeting,
Mhm.
authorize that, then you write it, and if you go get the signatures, that's fine.
Yeah,
You see
yeah,
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's,
yeah,
But
okay.
But
signing
if
from
he
the board,
leaves-
if it's approved within the meeting, signing it from the board of the council on aging. That would be, it doesn't have our signatures, but we
Yeah,
would have
that's
the
okay,
approval
that's
of the
okay too.
minutes.
But if he
Yeah.
leaves it here overnight one night, you're here for exercise. I'm always here. Mary, you can stop down sometime.
and again, to reiterate, I think the town manager's office is very supportive. I think
Oh,
they
yeah, I
understand the
think so
meeting.
too.
I think they understand why. I think they understand how.
Right,
It's just a matter of, I think, the goal of the COA board's action on it would be to put it back on the top of their list.
Yep.
Move it-
Right, and,
Move
and,
it up and
So-
then it's become more critical.
Right.
Right.
I would
but
make
the
a
way
motion
that
for
gets to
Dennis
the top of the town manager's list
right,
is by putting it in front of the select board.
right. So I would make a motion.
That is,
for
the
Dennis
select
to-
board does, that is, if the select, I'm sure, if the select board is kind of passively accepting of the notion that the town manager is working helpfully and all the rest of it, and that there's been a lot, I mean, that is all well and good and true. But it has been clear, and this even predates the closing of the hospital.
Mhm.
That the addition of the second van would be,
Okay, so
But
I
we
make
don't
a
even have a
motion for
job.
Dennis to write a letter to the select board.
Thank you.
A second,
The deadline for the 17th is Thursday, yeah,
okay,
just so you know.
you got your.
And Bobby seconded it.
I don't know if I. can
And
write it.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 So that
Okay.
means at that meeting. You would be on the agenda. For that, and then we would go through the agenda for the building committee update. It'll be a senior focused select board meeting. I like it.
On what,
On the 17th.
on 17th, okay, I don't
Yeah.
have my calendar. Okay, my other thing for,
No, that's-
Community outreach. we were doing the library or Tiny's. You went to Pleasant Street, you had a. But my thing is why not try coming here? Too. Bobby and I come, we're known here.
Yeah.
And why not? All of us try stopping in here for coffee. Tuesday or Thursday mornings are
Well-
usually busy.
Well, I think that the thing with that is that for some of the concerns that some members of the community might have,
Mhm.
or those issues or concerns that were not being raised, people would feel more comfortable if it weren't here, because there's really no private meeting space.
Have it over there. I don't think Thursday morning there's exercise.
So there is, but just the one. Yeah.
At
The
9,
one, yeah. So I guess my question would be, would you put that under another goal would be to increase the COA board's presence
Presence.
at daily activities? Okay.
present, but if we just,
Okay, would it be?
if
Thursday?
we just came down and had coffee. People are always sitting here having coffee.
But-
And just talking.
But I also think part of the goal of meeting in other places was to broaden the reach.
But the people here can't get Sam to get them places.
But it wasn't, it was to broaden the reach townwide. Where do seniors or people who are heading into those years go?
So I-
Not here.
So I think you guys are talking about two different things.
But I think if we advertised it and it was over there,
I mean, 'cause I did 2 or 3 open office hours. You know, and that's what they were, their open office hours.
Right.
In other places, like, so people who would go to the library wouldn't necessarily come here,
right,
and nobody showed up.
I did the same thing.
So I think that was sort of, at that time, if you think back to what it was to go to the outreach.
I did
Because
same thing, Mary, and I had nobody, but I think down here you might get some of the people wandering down.
So I think part of, you could have two different versions of this.
Yeah,
I think what I hear Marge saying is that having office hours down here for the COA board would increase the COA board's accessibility amongst current senior center users. Period. The other initiative we tried was increasing COA visibility out in the community by doing it at other locations. That didn't work. So I think
You've got to
you could
stop.
either put that on a shelf or you could put that into a different format than office hours, but I think they're two different things.
But-
It's not a disagreement about the same.
But and perhaps I'm incorrect in this, it was my sense that one of the reasons that we wanted to do office hours outside the building was in order to allow, that is, in order to allow people to talk with members of the board separate from this building, separate from the other people who are in this building all day, separate from what Katie may hear or not hear, and to allow them an opportunity to access the board without having the official town employees, for lack of a better word, you know, so that we could then more fully understand the concerns of the people.
That just there didn't appear to be as much of a need for that as we
Yes,
thought.
that's right.
So I think that you could table that idea. I think Marge is suggesting something different. Am I understanding that
Yeah,
correctly?
because I think our faces need to be known. Barbara, I know, you want to say,
I think that a meeting has to be at night. You need to reach people, you need to reach caretakers. You need that take care of their families. You need to reach those type of people, so it has to be more evening than it is during the day to reach all kinds of people,
yeah.
any senior. The afternoon is not good for anybody, whether they're working, not working, retired or not. The afternoon isn't good, has to be at night.
Yeah, and I know,
So
we tried a
things have
couple
to
of
change.
mornings afternoon, and I don't disagree that there has to be those extended hours. With how often it
Whether it be
is.
one night a week or something, you know, to have extended hours that people can come, but. In order to do the other, like Dennis was saying, it has to be outside of here in order to get everybody to be able to talk with what they want to say.
that could be an open house for that. I don't think that's a bad idea. But I do think here, I think people need to know our faces.
And well, when you say our faces, they do obviously know your face.
They know mine,
They know Bobby's.
but I think they need to meet all of us.
Mhm.
We are their board.
We are the Council on Aging Board.
We are.
Yeah.
We don't have oversight over the housing
No, we
or
don't,
the senior center.
but we work to make their life better.
But we work to make all of the seniors in town's life better, so that.
Right.
So that's sort of that.
Right, but I
broader
don't think
picture.
it doesn't hurt us to come down and have a cup of coffee.
She's boss in the senior center.
She certainly is.
Okay, but no, I know, no, I know, it's not, that was, no, I know.
To come down and have a cup
Some
of coffee.
sarcasm there.
I don't think it hurts to come down and have a cup of coffee.
Not at all,
So-
no.
You
So
know,
it sounds,
it doesn't make sense, the whole thing,
what?
but, you know, I mean, what you're referring to, whatever.
But I'm ready to move on if you don't agree.
Well, no, I'm saying I agree with what you're saying. I think what I'm hearing are two separate things. One is increasing the visibility of the senior center and the COA board to people who aren't currently using the senior center, right? And so
Yeah.
that involved
To
a
get
formal
that-
communication plan, all of those things. Then the second goal related to that is increasing the whole board's visibility within the existing users. So I think those are two separate goals that can be pursued.
Mhm. I think you have to start someplace.
Are there other goals that people had? I see 5 here. I
Yeah, I
didn't know if
think there's
there's
like a lot of communication and type of things, and especially around the new senior center and sort of coming up and probably working in some respect, I would imagine, with the building committee to put forth the unified, you want to call it unified front, unified communication, so you go to a meeting and, no, that's not what I heard.
Yeah.
And someplace else to get that,
Yeah.
to eliminate that.
So what I have for goals are supporting the building committee, increasing communication and awareness of the senior center, advocating for a second driver, helping find interns for communications and PR work, and increasing the COA board presence at regular activities. So one was the outside the current users and one's the inside the current users. Are there other goals?
So I will take on the search for interns. If you wanna, and again, just. I'll make the initial calls to, I guess, Fitchburg State or whomever. And I think your point is right that. Even a communication major, somebody not in social work or gerontology, even for a communications major, would be helpful.
Communications major, I'd also reach out to the tech schools because they almost all have PR and communications. Some of them might even have broadcast as a
Yeah.
major.
Yeah.
That a broadcast intern might help bridge the gap with APAC that we've been trying to do for
Mhm.
years and years and years.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of possibility there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think first you have to, well, I mean, there's some legwork involved, trying to find. Which schools have kind of robust internship programs, I mean,
Right.
broadly speaking, and then go,
Right.
go down from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay,
Matt?
old new business. The ramp at Pleasant Street, I think we should start with a new letter to House. Since Alan is gone.
And do we know what the status of the disabilities commission is?
Robert is trying to get it back together. Because it's only 2 or 3 people,
I haven't had a quorum,
they do not.
nor do they have a faculty, that's not the right word, employee
Yeah, yeah.
liaison.
The
Right, so he is working to get that back. But when they do get it back up, I took Alan's letter. And I just noticed I got Ken's name on. So I underlined it. And I kind of wrote it differently. And
I'm with Riverport, we're in assisted living in Groton. I just wanted to drop off flyers for you guys and then we. can
Okay.
continue.
Great, you can leave them there on the counter. That'd be perfect. Thank you.
You weren't even mentioned.
It's really his letter, but I just updated that we had not heard.
And who, you lost me here.
Mhm. I took Alan's letter and just
So this is your revised version of
Right.
Alan's letter.
said that we had not heard, and at the last paragraph, I just said, the Air COA would like to ask the Air House and where the ramp stands.
Do you want to invite him in this letter to our next meeting?
I will,
And I think that might be a really nice close to it.
Yeah.
Cause it would be,
because I was kind of thinking I would go to there. But it
they
might
don't
be,
meet as often.
no,
do
they do not.
So that would be October 8th would be
Yeah.
our meeting.
And if I remember, Judy Penard has said she is on the housing.
She
authority
is.
board, right? And she had mentioned that she was gonna
I'm
see if
just
she
writing
could
it.
find out what the status of them. Or not, we haven't heard anything from her, so. Yeah, right.
And
I'm just putting on, we extend an invitation.
I think it would just be nice to have
To
some
you.
sort of response. Or
Representative from housing.
I think you just want to invite him.
Okay,
Is housing for both? Like, does this have its own meeting and Pleasant Street have
So
its own
the
meeting, or
air,
is
my
there
understanding is the Air Housing Authority, there's the staff,
Okay.
and then there's the Housing Authority. Trust isn't the right word.
Okay.
The board that Judy Pinard is on, and that oversees all three properties
Okay,
in town, and then. There was at one time, but isn't currently tenant association.
okay, I guess that was.
That's sort of how that.
Okay,
so I will correct that and you just need to vote on, is that true?
Yeah, I think that'd be
I
great.
move that we accept, authorize, Marge to send out that letter as amended.
So as part of that amendment,
Mhm.
do you have the original letter that was sent on December 14th?
I do,
It might be helpful for you to enclose that with
I
this
will.
one. You know, and you could say, please see attached,
yeah,
to
I will
refresh his memory.
do that.
So I think you really just want a response from him, right?
That's right.
I mean,
That's all I,
if it's, if the response is, I'm not gonna do it because it opens up a whole can of
Right.
worms for updating the whole property, then so be it, but just a response would be nice.
That's right. And the response has to be in writing.
Mhm.
That is, if he calls you and says, hey, Marge, picked up your letter, you know, this is where we're at with that.
Mhm.
I would encourage you to ask him to
Mhm.
send that letter to you with that. And again, I just think it's important that that it be noted that there was formal communication between the disabilities folks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it says it here.
Right, but
Yeah.
and that did get sent to them, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I copied the letter. I kept the copy from Alan,
right,
so yeah. And if we all sign it,
well, I think this could just come from you.
for me,
Yeah.
that's fine, then I'll take you guys off.
Yeah.
I had you on it too, Bobby, but yours fell off.
I think you can leave all the names there if you want.
Okay,
I mean, I don't think they have to all include the signatures,
No, I
right?
just
Okay.
having, or
Yeah.
Okay.
just
Yeah,
put
yeah,
the
yeah.
council on
Yeah, yeah,
aging.
yeah.
Bobby's fell off, but
With just
I
one
had
name.
him on too. Okay, then I will do that. Correct it. Okay, so we voted on that.
Yep.
Okay. So that's kind of the two things there together, the ramp and the new letter. The board statement.
Who's our next meeting?
October 8th.
October 8th.
Oh, you printed them out, okay.
Well, I did mine, but we should probably have one from the letter, the newsletter.
Yeah, if you wanna see the.
It did the original. I think I had one in my packet. Did I have one?
If anyone wants to compare to what's in the newsletter.
It's on page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got it for you. Oh, you're welcome. And there will be some changes.
With you.
This sounds more like the senior center than the CLO.
I tried not to change it too much. Says the Ayer Council of Agents, COA, is a service department for residents of the community 60 years of age and older. We provide information and services to help seniors, their caregivers, and their adult children. Our goal at the Ayer COA is to empower seniors and families to make life choices to age with dignity, good health, and friendships. We provide a variety of programs and services to bring seniors together in a safe environment that includes meals, transportation, social service assistance, exercise programs, health education and screening, games and crafts, and social opportunities.
So I was just mentioning to Kate, that is, are we trying to draw a distinction between the Council on Aging as an entity separate from the senior center?
I think we should.
Right, no,
I mean, we're all, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're an advocacy board and an
Right.
advisory board.
Mhm.
So it should be, for lack of a better thing, lifted up one more level and not.
I would propose keeping some version of what's here and what's here
Right.
as the senior center mission statement, because I do think it describes what the senior center does. If you guys want a mission statement above and beyond that, and I think that makes sense,
yeah,
then I can change the wording on this one to say senior center mission statement. And then you guys can write a
yes, no, I agree.
COA board mission statement.
Then
Because that I think speaks.
that would be awesome.
Yep.
Because our goal is. But I just took that as, because it was under the board.
Right, and it's there because from the time I started, there's always been this tension between, am I the Council on Aging or am I the senior center? And you know, it's ultimately semantics, and so I've left it alone.
And it helps clarify to Barbara's earlier point, the distinction that the community. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I don't have the, I just.
Okay, so.
I don't have the distinction of.
Sure.
What's what.
Right.
So
No.
Katie is a town employee.
Right.
She works for the town of Ayer, your tax dollars support her. The town funds services with the help of the housing authority in this particular case. To help provide those services to the residents of Ayer.
Mhm.
we, the Council on Aging Board,
Mhm,
are not, and we are not paid by the town. We
right.
are volunteers.
Mhm,
We do not have supervisory authority over Katie or the administrative authority to change anything. We do have the ability to advocate for, to listen to make suggestions about various
Yeah.
things.
okay,
That we can do. And that distinction, I think, is it has been for me since Katie came over, it has been for me to be mindful of that distinction.
so in other words, the council on aging reports to town administrator.
No,
No,
Katie.
You report to Katie?
no, we don't
You
report
don't
to
report to
anybody.
Katie, you don't report
So
to
you're,
anybody.
We
you're,
report
So
to
if there's a
ourselves as a
problem-
board.
Yeah.
If there's a problem. In here.
In the
there's a
board?
problem in the board, who you report to
technically
solve a decision to be made. I'm gonna ask a question because it's just like Janine right now. What is the decision that's gonna be made about another person on the board?
okay, so.
Is that Katie or is that you people or
Just
is it?
to step back just a little bit, so this board and committee is an appointed committee by the select board, so technically you guys answer to the select board.
So they
right?
report to the select board?
Yes.
Okay,
So I am a town employee who reports to the town manager.
okay,
This board is here to provide like an advocacy, advisory capacity. They are not an elected board. For example, each board is different. So for example, for Parks and Rec,
Mhm.
they are an elected board.
Right.
Therefore, Parks and Rec staff report to them. That's their boss, right? You guys are fabulous. I don't, I don't report to you like they're. And the nature of COA boards and probably many town boards and committees comes from a time where town governments were smaller. So back in the 1960s, the Older Americans Act required that each town have a person or committee designated to the needs of older adults. Over time, those people might have come together. You guys might have decided to host a lunch. You guys might have decided to do this or that when there weren't senior centers. But as the needs, the number of older adults and the needs of older adults have grown, towns have gotten more sophisticated. They have opened buildings called senior center. They have hired staff, not just one staff member, but multiples. So even just 10 or 15 years ago, when I was on a council on aging board in my hometown, I was planning events because there was no activities coordinator. I was helping do prepare meals because there was no dining coordinator. Whereas now, many and most senior centers have staff members, paid staff members that do that. And so that puts the COA board in more of an advisory and advocacy position than an hands-on operations role. Does that help clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, I didn't need the history, but.
I mean, it's helpful to know how something ended up, how it developed. Yeah.
And in terms of how the board functions, we, the board, decide how the board functions by voting
Well,
on various.
But
we
also
have,
too is we also
policies.
have a policy that we
Right.
voted in last spring,
Right,
which does have a mission statement.
right,
Okay, is that different from,
It is.
okay,
yeah. So we don't have a mission
Yes, we
statement.
do. We
Well,
voted in
we
last
did,
spring.
but
Is it the same as this one?
No,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
it
Nice.
says the Air Council on Aging was established to act as an
Yeah.
advisory and advocacy board for the Air Senior Center and its staff.
Yeah.
Our goal at the Air Senior Center or the Council on Aging is to empower individuals and families as they make life choices in support
Yep.
of aging with dignity, health, and personal fulfillment. We support the work of the Senior Center as it endeavors to provide a variety of programs and services to bring together our senior citizens in a safe and nourishing environment.
so that should be under the
That should be,
COA newsletter.
So I vote, so
I make a motion, we accept that as our mission statement.
and so then I think as an advisory board, the motion could be to accept that and then advise the COA director.
To put it in
Put it
the
in the-
newsletter,
That's the motion.
and we
Okay.
live by that statement.
All right.
Yeah, so.
Because
The fact
that
I wrote
needs
it
to
is
be
fine.
under
The
our,
fact that I forgot that I had written it
right,
and had
But
no
that
idea what it
needs to be
said is the
under
concerning part.
statement of who we are and what we live to do. Okay, under the business, because I really want to move on. Talking with the chief. Police chief. And I will be happy to take this on, and Katie, I don't know how you feel about it.
Mhm.
Um. But with the hospital closed. About getting an AED,
I have two AEDs up here.
do you?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
They're right up on top of the fridge. One's in the black box and one's in
Okay.
the red box behind it.
and. I know how to use them,
Mhm.
but a demonstration for. Because if you're out of the building, I know Denise and Mary Ellen and Brittany,
So they're all first aid certified.
right, So
And have
mine.
had a demonstration on
Yeah.
it, but I think that's a good suggestion
Mhm.
to remind everybody.
And that was my other thing. I talked to the chief about a simple CPR for seniors
Okay,
and just Heimlich, things like that.
okay,
Because if we're sitting next to somebody,
right, right.
and he thought that was a great idea.
That is a good idea. The fire department
Yeah.
would be fine to do
and
that
that's what he
probably.
said.
And just for a reference and public record, we do have, we're required by the Board of Health to post the conscious choking
Right, yeah.
poster that's over there on the fridge.
Yeah, but he thought that was a great idea, and I'm
Yeah.
happy to go down and talk to them.
Yeah, that's fine. You want to
If
see
you
if they
want me
wanna,
to,
yeah, Mondays and Fridays would be great times to
Yeah.
offer something like that.
Yeah.
Cause then we can open up this space.
yeah,
Yep, that'd be great. Thank you.
um,
Do you have to put a sign up that says you have an AED and where it is?
Not aware of any.
Okay.
usually they are
Yeah.
AED on the door that we have one in school.
Yeah, that I
Place
don't
they-
know.
I'll ask them that.
Yeah, I mean,
too.
that's
Yeah.
a good question.
Mhm.
They are there because I just don't really have a
Mm.
great space. I mean, maybe if we took down the Purell thing, there's not much wall space in this building,
Mm,
nor is there space
Yeah.
for people with
Yeah.
bumping shoulders on walls to mount it any place.
Yep.
And when you mount it, it has to go in like a glass
box,
cabinet,
right.
like a fire extinguisher box, so they end
Yeah.
up being pretty big. Which is why, again, I have two of them. The fire department comes down
And
once
checks
a
the
year
battery.
and checks the battery and swaps out the pads as needed. And they have a grant to pay for that,
mhm.
so,
Okay, no, I will be happy to do
thank
that.
you.
You are welcome. My other thing and the Newton Street Festival. You need help. I know it's in your directives. Do you want to wait?
That, either one's fine.
Yeah, we can cover it in the director's report.
Okay. And it's not on here. I have two things that aren't on here, under new business. Can I add them?
I think you can bring up new business.
Okay. One is we are looking for new board members. Janine was mailed the letter.
Mhm.
Um,
And
Have
that
there been-
vacancy was posted.
the vacancy was
Mhm.
posted.
Have there been any,
Nope.
no, I don't know.
No. And, the minutes. Dennis, you ready to take them back?
Can I have to? Well, did I ever have them?
Well, you're,
I was never
you're
the
clerk
clerk.
now,
I'm clerk now. Yes, yeah,
because Mary Ellen's busy.
Right.
So,
so I'll be doing the minutes.
thank you. And I
Were
think,
you gonna go back and do August minutes from the recording, or do we have August minutes?
Um,
No, I think that
We have August minutes are
Okay.
done.
Yeah.
Mary Ellen just asked me to look them over, and so
No,
I'm
that's
I'm the holdup on that one.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to know,
haven't
make sure that we didn't get lost, those minutes didn't get lost anywhere.
No,
Okay, and I think that's what I had for new business.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything?
I think going forward, just from a procedural perspective, if they. The town manager's office tends to not like new business from a open meeting law, because you want to be able to advertise every known thing you're gonna talk
Everything
about.
I'm talking.
So if, especially if a board member has a new business item, we should amend the agenda to include that
Okay.
on that, just a
I
procedural note
will
going
amend
forward.
the agenda.
Yeah. And that happens, and if you have an amended agenda, after you post it for the first time, you can send another agenda
Yeah.
to Susan, and then she will post a revised agenda.
Okay.
That's also allowed.
Okay. Now you're up.
All right, yay. So I don't have a written copy of the director's report yet. I was just finishing that up. We have noticed some changes in transportation in the past month. I'll first start by putting out in the public meeting. We proactively made some changes to the senior center van schedule. We were looking for places to add efficiency so that we could better accommodate, because we're already a full van. So that we could better accommodate what we anticipated would be more trips to Fitchburg, Leominster, Westford, Acton, and Concord. And so to create some efficiencies, we decided to add a Tuesday morning group shopping trip to Shop and Save, and a 1 p.m. on Thursday group shopping trip to Shaw's. So hoping to sort of, rather than making multiple trips there each day, to kind of encourage people to go to one of those 2 times. And then we added Littleton and Westford as destinations on Wednesday morning. In addition to Westford being a destination on the third Tuesday.
And
So,
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
and where in Littleton and Westford do they go?
so that's
And-
just gonna be like Mondays and Fridays. You can go anywhere you need to
Oh,
go.
I see. So it could be a medical appointment or a grocery store or.
Right,
whatever. I see.
right. And so like Market Basket, for example, is full, as is Walmart, every single week. So the idea is that if you can't get on the Wednesday afternoon to Market Basket in Littleton, you now have the option of going to Market Basket in Leominster on any Monday morning. You could go on the third Tuesday to the Market Basket in Westford. Wednesday morning, you could go to Market Basket in the morning in Littleton or in Westford. Again, the more efficiencies and economies where we're taking more people on the van, the better. We are noticing more people inquiring about the Leominster, Pittsburgh appointments, Acton and Concord as well. This is what I would call round 1 of the revisions. So as I'm sure you guys read in the welcome letter for this month's newsletter, to please be patient with us as we adapt, as we learn more about what people are going to need. Having many of the primary care offices stay open here in town has eased a little bit of that immediate crunch. But we'll see. I think this is going to evolve over time. So there's that. I am noticing more people looking for assistance with rides.
And
I expect that to grow over time. We've already had the conversation about the need for a second van and a second driver. I think that would help a lot.
and why do you think more people are looking for rides now? I mean, is it directly related to hospital or are there other things you sense that are going on that are causing people?
So I think as we all age, every single year, people who are currently our senior center users, there'll be a certain number of them that will stop driving each and every year, and they will become van riders. Then there will be people who aren't senior center users who stop driving, who become senior center users because they want to use the van. I notice as Neshoba Park struggles with their own staffing, they rely on us more for transportation. With the hospital closure, I've got more people needing to go further away. There were some people who were doing physical therapy at the hospital. Now they're going to Groton, they're going to Leominster, they're going other places. And those were appointments that were 2 and 3 days a week that were 4-minute commutes that we were doing, folding them seamlessly in. And now they're taking, you know, an hour to an hour and a half out of Sam's day, which means, and I've been trying to boost morale amongst the staff and say, I'm really sorry, we're just all gonna have to get comfortable with saying no. None of us wants to say no, but we are going to have to get comfortable saying no when we can't make a ride work. We're gonna do our absolute best to make it work. But it only takes,
Mhm.
you know, it would not have been unusual at all to have had 15 riders on the van during the day. But if we're going to Leominster and Fitchburg and back, or even this Westford and Littleton day, we might only be able to service 5 people because the back and forths are so much greater. So again, trying to get people into the more consolidated shopping trips, I think will really help keep more open space for some of those longer medical rides.
Okay, now that's good explanation.
So let's see, in addition to that, volunteers, I had sent out an email for October volunteers, and then I realized I forgot the more immediate need. The Friday park picnic at Peroni Park. Yeah. Pleasant. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's, yeah, the Pleasant Street Park, not Peroni, Pleasant Street Park. Picnic is this Friday. Music will start at 11:30. It's a catered event. So we are looking for volunteers who can help with setup of the tables and chairs. They all have to come from here over there. And then, so setting up tables and chairs, getting the tables and chairs set with the place settings, and then helping to serve and clean up, just like last year. So if anyone's available to help with that, that would be fantastic. Then, Saturday, October 5th is the Newton Street Festival. The senior center will have a booth there. I anticipate we'll obviously have October newsletters to go out, and I'm going to be working with the building committee to determine some visuals and some handouts to have ready for that as well. So I'd love to have COA board presence at that to help staff it. I think it'd be great to have maybe 3 or 4 people between staff, COA board, and building committee to have 3 or 4 people in the booth through the whole day. And that is 10 to 4 on the 5th. And I think
I could do
you could
that.
help set up. I hate to have you do just set up.
That doesn't matter, I mean, I'm right down the street, so that's not a big deal, but I just have to
Okay.
be, I have to be someplace else by 11, so I gotta leave at 9:30.
No, I hear you. So,
We have a mock-up of the new building.
yeah, my goal would be to have the large floor plans mounted on like a foam
Oh, that's a good
board
idea.
and out on easels for people to look at and
Thank
everything.
you.
So, yeah.
You gotta plastic coat them or something, or put some plastic, so like fingers and things like that. Yeah, you know, just cause people are gonna point or
Right. Yep.
pen at least to
Yeah.
try and keep them.
So, so that would be great. And then, Saturday, October 12th is the Rotary Barbecue. Right now, I really don't have hardly anybody signed up for it. In the past, it's been like 40,
Crazy.
45 people. So I'm unclear if people are a little confused between the picnic, the housing barbecue, and then the Rotary Barbecue. So it could be that closer to the day, we have more interest in that. And what we typically do for that is Sam picks up all of the food in the van, because they would give us a box full of individual containers of mac and cheese. And, you know, and then someone needs to come back here and collate them essentially. Sam does all of the deliveries in the community, but usually about 2/3 of the deliveries are here. Last year when I did it, Sam wasn't available. I picked it all up in my car, and I parked my car up top and opened the back and just had everybody come out, and I put stuff in the bag and handed it to them and off they went. So it doesn't have to be a complicated thing. It is a takeout meal. I just need a set of hands for that. And someone wrote me back, it was you.
I
yeah.
told you,
It was you,
that
yes,
me
you
till
did.
two.
Okay, perfect. I don't think that will take, that's at all.
I might be in Maine, I'm not sure. It's
Okay.
my girlfriend's memorial.
Yeah, and plenty of time for,
Yeah.
plenty of time for committing to that, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, no,
October weekends are always super busy with
Yeah.
town events.
You have me till two.
All right,
Let me know on the fifth if you want me for setup or
okay,
what.
all right,
Mhm.
I'll let you know. If I can find other people to cover it, I won't bother you to come out and since you're in the other event.
Either one's fine. I mean, I don't mind doing both. I just don't know.
And then I think that's all I have for the director's report right now.
Okay,
And then I can give a building committee update if you.
yep,
Yeah,
keep
all right.
going.
So, at their last meeting, the building committee, voted and chose, Bishop Road, yay, as, the site to be recommended for the new senior center. So that is a significant step forward. I'm excited about it. I would have been happy with either spot, but I'm excited about this one. The town manager's office and the town treasurer and got the first, let me just take a step back. The cost estimate from the architect was right about 15.5 with the utilities in, right? 14.5 for the building. And then we have what, 14.2 for the building. And then
1.4.
And then 1.4, 1.5 for bringing utilities out Bishop Road. So, then I met with the, because there are just currently no utilities on that road. So that would be water, electric, and then on-site septic. So then I was able to do a preliminary meeting for a preliminary taxpayer impact. And just like the floor plans, we've gone through many iterations of floor plans and elevations or whatever. Many iterations, there will be more movement in the price. So I just am stressing, this is a very preliminary number. So for the average value, assessed value of a home in the town of Ayer, which is 450,000, the average assessed value, not sales value, but assessed value. The cost to borrow for that would be $267 a year
On a 450.
on a 450,000 assessed value house.
Most houses are
That is the average.
higher.
No, just keep, that's the
Yeah,
average assessed
assessed.
value.
Yeah.
So you have to look at the assessed value of your home, not the real estate market
Right,
list
right.
rate. So that is the average assessed value in town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, $267. And that is a 30-year bond with a descending payment.
30-year?
30-year bond descending. So a descending borrow means that the first year you'll pay 267, and then every year over the 30 years, you'll pay less.
Mhm.
Than that.
Like mortgage.
And that's a current, and that's a
Yeah.
current interest rate.
That's projected out at what she went through the whole model with the expecting how long it would take for approval, then for construction drawings, then for bidding.
Okay.
So at the time, 18 months or something from now, that's what the projections are.
Yeah.
And again, that's why it's a first draft. As you get closer, that could modify it, but I don't think that 267 number will change dramatically based on those. Who knows? So, and obviously if we get grants or utilities rebates, that number will be lower.
You said it's 267 a year?
Mhm.
Okay. So I'll make sure that was.
Which I did some math on that. That's roughly one Dunkin' Donuts coffee a week. That's far less than the cost of a gym membership.
So you going to be able to help work with grants, or are you gonna have a total person for grants?
So, so I talked to Alicia over in community development. So she would be the lead person, or whoever takes over Alan's spot would be the lead person for getting the state, the CDBG, the Housing Choice Grant. if there's a legislative earmark,
Mhm.
any of those things. And there is definitely a CDBG grant available for 1.3 million. There's no reason we wouldn't get that, so that would bring the borrowing amount down by $1 million.
Right,
As far as other grants, I do think that that's one specific action item that the COA board could do is if you guys find a grant that is relevant for the project, to bring it to either Alicia or to the building
Right.
committee, I'm sure there'll be, or to the friends, the fledgling friends of the Air seniors.
but remember when we went to, was it North Andover?
Right.
And they had all the lighting. Because they showed off the artwork.
Right, so that's a great example, so the cultural council funded that
Right.
one, so they have a line item funding for art exhibition spaces. And so I think that one was up to $100,000, that one I know about, but like. I think that's one way you could say, hey, I'd be willing to write that, and I think there'll have to be. What do they call that meeting when? The select board, the finance committee and capital planning all get the tri-board or whatever. There may be an opportunity to do like a tri-board meeting
Right.
between the building committee, the COA and the friends
Right.
at some point to, with that in mind. But I think it will all come down to how many viable grants can we find for how much and the time it takes to write them.
But
in,
each board could take on,
right,
and they
agreed.
got their gym paid for it
Mhm.
because of disabilities.
But in reality,
They had their gym, all their exercise equipment paid for in North Andover.
In North Andover, yeah, so see, that's a great example of how you we can chip away at some of the costs
Mhm.
and, so I think the economic and community development will be in charge of some big bites
Yeah,
out of
But
that.
I think
And then,
each board should take
Yeah.
something on.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean,
knock down these.
yeah,
but until it's really approved, the only thing we really can do is to start identifying.
yeah, so I think that's what, that would be in terms of a deliverable.
Mhm.
The COA board could put together, and I started 2 years ago, a spreadsheet of
Yeah.
grants and their due dates.
Mhm.
And what the eligibility requirements are, because there may be some grants that the COA board could apply for, but that the town couldn't. There may be
Right.
some that the friends can apply for, but that the towns can't. So there'll be different eligibility
Right.
requirements. And that is a lot of keyboard research time
Yeah.
and compilation, because, there's an application deadline for each of those. So it'd be
yeah.
trying to figure out what do I need to be applying for in each and every month of the year at which stage in the process. So,
But if
yeah.
you're not Googling and looking, you're not.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
If you're looking for grants, you're not.
Googling and then compiling
Right,
and organizing the
right.
information, yeah.
Yeah.
So, so the next building committee meeting is tomorrow night, Wednesday, 6:00 here at the senior center. And that meeting will be focused primarily on next steps for site preparation, site due diligence for Bishop Road.
So as part of that, and kind of like a public service announcement, I would encourage everyone to take their friends' relations out to Bishop Road, drive that. It's a very easy. Some people perceive it as being further away than it is in fact.
Yeah, it's not too far from Park Street at all.
It's, maybe, yeah, so. Again, if you happen to be coming back from Tiny's to swing by Bishop Road, if you're with a friend, or if you're on your way to Shirley, take Bishop to McPherson instead of going down to just to kind of familiarize you and your friends with how in fact close it is. And what a relatively easy drive it is. I mean, there aren't any, it's all flat approaches, there aren't any complicated turns. Right now, broadly speaking, as you're looking at where the brush dump used to be, where the gate is, and there's that rather open area that's pretty visible. To the left of that, somewhere in there, which is where the building would be.
inside the existing fence. The
Inside,
fence will
right.
move, but inside the existing fence
Right.
to the left of the gate.
What's that?
Oh, nothing, no, it's not that far down the road.
Yeah, so I just
That's the
kind of,
back part of St. Mary's.
Yeah,
so I just kind of encourage people to kind of feel more comfortable being there or in that neighborhood.
Yep. so approval of minutes from August,
We don't have any minutes.
we don't have,
So,
so.
but you can
postpone.
table that.
Yeah, postponed. Public input. Nancy,
Got
Hi.
time?
hi,
Got time?
how much time?
How much time do you need?
Not that much time.
Oh. Oh, no, you wrote,
That's just from today.
you wrote notes, oh, no. Go for me.
All right. You're talking, one of the first things you were talking about was how to get more people into what's going on here. And of course, you mentioned the signboard,
Mhm.
you mentioned the computer.
Mhm.
All right. A lot of people don't have computers even to this day, right? I suggest
Hmm.
that you take the annual street listing. On there, if I am correct. Has names, address, and age. Year of birth. Year of birth.
Oh,
So it would be easy enough to figure out people's ages.
I won't
And
mind
do
them.
a mailing
Mhm.
to those individuals in town.
Okay. I don't disagree, Nancy,
But
but the Council on Aging Board doesn't have a budget. So we've got to work with everybody else to send it
well,
out. So,
I'm just coming up
Nope.
with what you
And
people
I-
talk to.
and I
whoever the
appreciate that.
powers
I'm
that
just
be.
sort of,
Right.
at
I
least.
understand. I understand that. The other thing is. If you're talking about. People getting to know the board. And talking to them and everything. And even as far as the COA. I would suggest. Holding a supper. Once a month. That way, people who are working. The people who are caregivers,
That's a good idea, Nancy.
and that may pull in more people, because what you're trying to do, in my estimate, is pull in enough people. To make the new COA worth the space you want.
That's a good idea,
Have it at the fire station.
Barbara.
Suggestion, is there any way that the COA would have any kind of a setup outside of the election area? You know, it used to be that someone had set up for like the scouts selling cookies and things. But then during voting hours for the national election. Have the COA set up there, with people there to talk, people encourage people.
I've thought about that, but were they outside? You can't be inside.
No, that's inside the big room. Oh, in the hall.
You can do it outside. That's where, like,
I don't think you can be inside.
the 4th of July. You'd have to check to see what the
Yeah.
regulations are, but you're not,
I think it's changed.
but you're not advocating
Yeah, you're not.
candidacies
advocating
or
for a
anything,
candidate.
or
So-
anything on the ballot or anything.
That.
You're just providing information.
Have sales of things, raising money, when people came to vote.
Yeah, I've never noticed.
The one that went on the last few years.
So let me check on that.
I do the polls. It's, yeah, I said that would be the thing to check on. I
Yeah,
haven't seen anybody there recently.
I haven't
The
either.
last few years.
It was, the last one, I think it used to be like the,
Almost all of us, flew forth.
Yeah.
they do the July 4th committee, selling tickets or providing information or those types of things.
Do you know,
Hmm,
can you be present at election day?
I don't know,
I don't know either.
used to be 150 foot,
Yeah, that's what I thought too,
there
but
was a restriction,
I'll check on that.
yeah,
So for town hall, you'd have to be
almost
On the street?
outside
Oh, yeah, 'cause
they're
across the
always on the
street.
sidewalk on the opposite side
The
of,
post office side,
No,
on the.
train track side.
Track.
train track side,
Yeah.
like right
I'm
the
not
end of
sure.
Columbia, they're right, so they are.
Yeah,
Did you
But
not-
I'll check on that,
Did you not?
and I like the supper idea.
There's a number of feet.
Number of feet you have to be away from polling places.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You got- More,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay, stop there.
It's worth checking into. There's
Yeah.
an official
Yeah.
answer for that.
I think Sue Copeland would know.
Yeah, Dennis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Write up. And you're not gonna put all the board members' names on. I suggest that that letter come from you. Have Dennis write it up and have your signature on it because you're head of the board.
Which letter is this? The one for the van?
the one for the van.
Yeah, that was gonna come from the COA board, right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
Right.
it would all come from the
Everybody
COA.
is.
board.
Because he's now the head of the board.
Everybody was gonna sign. it.
Yeah, I
they
think
said
all
no.
letters should come from the board as a whole with everyone's names on them.
Okay, that's a change from what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because originally it was just gonna be from Dennis.
All right,
Oh, we were all gonna sign it.
yeah.
Okay, this was.
Yeah.
Do the letter.
Okay. You were talking about a new board member, advertising for a new board member. It's been on Facebook.
Mm-hmm,
I've seen it on Facebook, so there is already something out there
And where on Facebook did you say it?
on my Facebook page. for the
No,
town
but-
of Ayer.
Town of Ayers
Town-
posted, Town of Ayer posted it.
Town-
Yeah.
It's on the town website. It's been emailed out to the air announcements group and it's on the town Facebook page.
Okay. AED equipment. Why can't it be put on that wall right there?
I don't have anything to mount it in, so I could. I
What
mean,
do you mean mounted in?
so it has to be mounted in something that keeps it safe, because it's like $1,000 piece of machinery, so
Yeah.
they're always mounted in something, like, think about the fire extinguishers used to always be like break here to, you know.
Yeah.
So it has to be, the current ones are soft-sided portable ones.
Yeah.
So I could mount it. I just don't have anything to mount it on. I haven't really felt the need to mount it because
Well,
we're so
I
small.
think if there's going to be a sign, it should be where anybody has access to it that needs it. Because we're not gonna go running around for somebody who works here to find out where is it? I see a sign on the door, but where is it? Whereas if they walk in the door, it's right there. Because you've got a sign right there, nobody beyond that sign.
Mhm.
Nobody knows it's up there.
Well,
I didn't know it was up there. Why can't it go right here? So,
Yeah, I think we're gonna, Marge, were you the person who was gonna look into what the suggested guidelines are for that,
Yeah.
for the fire department? So.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I know it has to be, if you put it out here, it has to be in like a
plexiglass.
very expensive cabinet.
Okay. But it should be direct, somebody's gotta know.
Well, I think
then-
if Katie comes out and explains where it is, we'll all know where it is. And it's like if somebody goes into a diabetic home, you know, we're all going to react. So,
Is it above the refrigerator?
yeah, it's the one
All the first aid equipment is above the refrigerator.
So if
said
you're.
it's in
short
the
like Kim
black-
Jong, you can't get it.
Get that.
because if I go into a cardiac arrest, you're gonna jump up and run.
So I think the goal, I think the point you're bringing up is important. The goal has never been that every single one of the 420 people that come in the building each year knows immediately where it is and how to access it. It's a good point, though, that maybe it should be more than the central staff and COA board members to know where it is. So
Right.
I think it's worth looking into how we can increase the awareness of it.
Right, but I think if you announce it over a course of a week
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
2 weeks, a month,
I think that makes sense.
you know. Nancy,
I'm wondering, you're talking about with the van and with people needing more access because the hospital's closed and all that. Wouldn't that a special quote unquote medical van be something that the town could do for its residents to take people rather than piling that all on the senior center to try to fit in this run, that run? Why isn't that something that the town would consider?
In short, the answer is because the town isn't in the business of transportation. State transportation authorities manage transportation. And so the state transportation authority, MART, in our case, the Montechusett Area Regional Transit, has proposed, not listened to the proposal, not heard the proposal that we need fixed route van service here. They are focused on Leominster and Fitchburg where they are based. We are, Ayer is what is known as a service desert in many capacities
I
because
understand that.
we are
What
far
about the
outside.
state? Why can't go to the state to say, we're gonna show the hospital closed,
Right,
dear governor, this is what we need to access and service all
right.
their residents.
Yeah. And I
Go
agree,
to
this
the
is
governor.
this is a wonderful opportunity for individuals and the town manager's office to advocate with the state on increasing transportation. I know it's a priority of their office. I know that they would like to see it. There have been efforts for years to try and do it. They just don't go anywhere. So I agree with you 100%, Nancy. I think that the transportation authority is the mechanism by which it would happen. I think they know that there's a need.
do
The
any,
COA board, the COA vans seem to run on a smaller scale and are therefore a little bit more mutable or amenable to making changes.
do any of the, and I don't know, do any of the medical practices around use buses? They do not. Okay, because like Reliant does. They use buses. If you go up to the one by Walmart,
Right.
if you can say, I have an appointment in Worcester,
Right.
I can't drive, they'll bus you to Worcester.
I'm not aware of any, I
There
did
are
some.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you. There are some of the healthcare options that are open to seniors that do have transportation as
Yeah,
part
I
of
know,
them.
yeah,
You know, I don't know how that works or whatnot, but there are some of the Medicare Advantage plans that have
Yeah.
that.
And if you have Mass Health, then you can qualify
You
for
always-
PT1
yeah.
transportation. I mean, there are lots of I'm just not aware of like a shuttle bus that's coming to Ayer, you know, something that's
but
existing.
you can't
right?
get to Acton Medical and then say, but I have an appointment at
Right, I'm not,
Emerson.
like, I'm not aware that Acton Medical buses anybody in.
Yeah,
Originating as a practice of the office. If you have Mass Health and you qualify for PT1 transportation, then you need a ride to Acton Medical, you can get the ride, but Acton Medical isn't doing that ride, Mass Health is. You know, there's the Devon's shuttle that goes to the hospitals.
But you have to get to Mount Wachusett, correct?
But you have to get there and they depart before Sam starts running in the morning,
Right.
which again, if I had another van driver, I could say, Sam, you now work from 7 to 3 to 4. And then this other driver is going to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I
I
can
do.
shift. But if I start Sam working at 7 a.m., I can't work him till 4:30 or 5 o'clock. You know, there's just not enough hours. So.
Yeah.
But it's a good point.
okay.
It's a
Nancy,
good point.
I don't know if I missed something, but you were bringing up the Rotary Barbecue on October.
October, Well,
And
yes.
you said, well, nobody signed up yet. Who signs up where? I haven't seen anything for a sign up sheet for it.
Right, so the sign up, the Rotary, we just do it as a courtesy to the Rotary to help with the signups because 80% of people who will participate in the Rotary Club will go pick up their own meal in Devon's. There's a sign out on the bulletin board there in the hallway. It's not in the newsletter yet because she didn't give it to me until after the newsletter was published. So there is a sign up sheet in the green book that's posted there. I'll put it in the October newsletter.
With a regular green book?
Yeah, it just came out. It just came out.
Oh, okay.
And my final question.
Okay.
When you were talking in hypotheticals about the cost for the new center,
Mhm.
and you were saying, unless I missed it, that it would be an increase in taxes, $250 per household.
For the,
Do you
That-
think that the seniors that may or may not use it can afford $250 extra a year? I can't. I live on social security.
you won't
I
pay that,
can't
you
afford
rent,
that.
you don't pay property taxes there.
It's property
It's
tax.
property taxes.
I understand that, but
yeah.
what I'm saying is I can barely make it through a month paying the rent I do here.
Right,
I have a sister that lives a street over.
Hmm.
That's living on a strict budget,
Mhm.
4 kids.
Right.
4 grandchildren.
Right.
Okay? I'm not saying that you couldn't, but I'm sure that with her at her age right now, that has no need. No need. For the center. Is gonna say, oh yeah. I'm willing to pay an extra $250. How many people are
So what-
gonna be used?
okay, sorry, go ahead.
What percentage increase of people are you expecting? Because when you know me, I sit down there.
Mhm.
And I kind of gagged at the fact that you said this place is pretty much full every day for lunch. I see cars coming in and out of here. I see the van coming in and out of here.
Mhm.
You don't have full tables in here every single day.
Not every single day, but
But
our
that's what
meals
you
are
want.
between, our capacity here is 24. And our meals have between 20 and 24 people every single day.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Every day, every day.
So,
Yeah.
So, and Nancy, you raised a good point about,
well, no, the capacity is not 24 on
That-
Monday and Friday.
that this, about what can the seniors afford?
Right.
Now, for those who support the ongoing work of the senior center and the hope to expand that ability to provide services to the community. If you were one of those, you could certainly reach out to your sister and encourage her to think positively about it. That is, she could come here, there are valuable services for other seniors in the community. As everyone gets older, they may end up using it more than they use it now. So the cost is one factor that some people in the community may focus on. And again, I would urge you to encourage those people to think positively about what constructive investments would the senior center add to the community. And it is in fact an investment in the community.
And I understand.
And as Katie
your
pointed out,
viewpoint, but how many years down the road are people gonna be paying that $250 a year?
It's a,
And then who
it's
gets the benefit of it?
it's a 30-year bond at this moment. What they have put out as the first draft is a 30-year bond. And so it's a decreasing payment each year. So 267 is the largest payment that we made, and each year that goes by, the payment gets smaller and smaller. And that is financed that way because it allows the bulk of the loan to be paid off with the known immediate interest rate. It saves the town money to finance it that way. And to Dennis's point, I mean, I think a senior center adds a tremendous amount of value for many residents of our community, be they older adults, be they middle-aged people who are caring for older adults here in town or in their own respective towns. We get a fair amount of calls from I call them adult children with questions about their parent, where their parent may reside. So we provide counseling to a broader age group than we might initially consider. Having services that keep having services available to keep older adults in their home is important to the financial viability of the town. So, for example, there is a known published statistic of per pupil spend that towns spend on students in the school system, right? But if you're a young family that has 3 or 4 kids, what you pay in your property taxes does not cover what the per pupil spend is, right? So that makes that household in the red, if that makes sense, tax-wise. But when you have active, independent living older adults that don't have kids in the school system, they are also still contributing their property taxes, and they are helping to make up the difference. There is national level data that shows that senior center users have happier, healthier, fewer chronic conditions. They manage those chronic conditions better. They are less likely to visit the ER. They are less likely to have higher medical costs. And so the idea is that a senior center is an important tool in town to keep seniors active, healthy, and independent, because we offer nutrition, exercise, health education, health screening. I'm sorry.
Less depression.
Those depression and isolation, as an example, have huge medical costs associated with them through what those things cause. So because that comes out often in bodily ailments. So a senior center is an important investment in the community, not only as an amenity, but in keeping the town fiscally healthy, keeping the town's senior population vibrant and active and independent. And so I think I would urge each individual household, be it a senior household, middle-aged household, a young household, to take a look at their finances and say, can I afford this? Could I make room in my budget for this? And if so, I would encourage them to vote yes for all the reasons I just stated.
The answer is no.
And if the answer is no, then I personally, as an individual, I would not condone that person voting yes for it if they really cannot afford it. So I think there has to be a balance there between saying what is good, just like when it comes time to vote for schools. People really have to dig inside and say, is this something that's good for my community? Can I find a place in my budget for it? And if they can, they do. And if they can't, they don't. So that's my thought.
One last question.
Okay.
I'm gonna combine the two. And they're basically for you, Katie.
Sure.
You're bringing up health and fitness and well-being. How come you're not promoting the pickleball anymore? It's been out there for a year, 2 years almost. Nobody's been out there.
Yeah.
You were giving lessons at one point.
Well, I can answer that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Sue went to Groton, the instructor. And nobody else stepped forward. And my husband tried to find her.
But there's nobody that comes in here on a daily basis or anything that would like to go down there and play pickleball?
So, two things happened at once. Sue, the instructor, who was really generous in offering an affordable rate for learning to play pickleball. She also leads a lot of other classes in other locations. And so I think people were learning to play with her and then moving to play in some of her other leagues. But she just got so busy that she wasn't able to offer the lessons anymore. And certainly no one wants me to offer the lessons. I'm not good at that. So I struggled to find another instructor to take the place, and I haven't
Say that
really.
It was a waste of money.
What's that?
That was a waste of money.
There was very little money involved in
It
that.
doesn't make any difference. Nobody's using it.
Okay, so, and then, the other part that coincided with that was right around that same time, the high school was able to, resurface or reline their courts to accommodate pickleball. And so when I first started talking with Jeff Thomas about it, that wasn't available. Now that is available as a community resource. So I think those two things combined, I really haven't, I was bummed to have Sue move on. That happens over time. Instructors just move on. But I haven't had a lot of people begging to have that program.
Does that still be stored down there then?
I mean, they're there and available if anyone would like to use them. There's a,
No, what I'm
group-
trying to say is. Again, I utilize my walkway
Right, yeah.
Another gym.
and,
I don't mean to be rude.
no,
but I
you're
don't
fine.
mean it.
I got it.
Thank you.
Okay, there are kids at times that go down there and they're jumping on, it, they're kicking it. I don't know what kind of lock you have on it.
Mhm.
All right, and to me, sitting up there, what's gonna happen one day, somebody gets that open and walks off with it. You need a better place to store it.
That's the arrangement that I've worked out with Parks and Rec. They provided the box and the lock, and I provided the equipment that went in it. And there's a group of people who are pickleball enthusiasts in town, and they have a group email going around. And so the combination on that lock changes every summer season, and it's available as a community resource. If someone wants to go down and unlock it and play a game down there, they're certainly welcome to do it.
Been 2 years.
Things are cyclical. They just change. Interest in programs changes over time. Doesn't mean that next year there won't be an interest in it. I'm glad I have the equipment. I'm happy to have it sit there until it's needed next. If next summer another instructor approaches me and says they'd love to teach down there, I'd be happy to restart the program. So,
And the new senior center will have pickleball courts.
Oh, my
And they will
gosh.
be tailor-made, they will be custom made for pickleball.
Wow.
So,
Okay,
Okay, Barbara.
my very,
Oh,
I'm finish what you're saying.
yeah.
Katie, loaves and fishes. When I had spoken to you earlier, you had told me that it was gonna be the first and second Wednesday of the month and the last Friday of the month. Now, all of a sudden, this month comes out with the first and second Friday of the month and the last Friday of the month. Now, Loaves and Fishes is trying to get people to do their orders online.
Mhm.
Has to be done by the midnight Wednesday
Hmm.
before the next delivery date.
mhm.
Now, what's happened before, not this month, because it was Friday, and Friday,
Mhm.
plus it came out earlier than it usually does.
Mhm.
Say the first is on a Wednesday. Well, nobody can sign up the week before, the Wednesday before to get that delivery. Okay, then that Wednesday, they would have to do by midnight of that day
Mhm.
to get the next Wednesday's delivery. Everything has to be done with them a week before,
Mhm.
by midnight on Wednesday.
Mhm.
And what's happening is, and people come to me about, I can't order those 2 weeks. What am I gonna do? I want 2 deliveries in a month. What am I gonna do?
Mhm.
I can't get my order in.
So you're bringing up a good point in the sense that there is a Loaves and Fishes adopting the online policy made it, I don't know what you call that, like, it made it a wider range of things that we are less in control of. Before, when it was you guys ordered through us and we set the dates and we delivered, it was a very streamlined process. Now there are basically two ways to order, and so it's a less focused process. I've spoken with Grace over at Loaves and Fishes about that disconnect. Sorry, that's, so the standard time that we will deliver is the first, second, and fourth Friday. There are sometimes changes if Sam has vacation or like, for example, the Pleasant Park picnic. Sam can't be delivering Loaves and Fishes and also be bringing groups of people over. We will have to make modifications. But the bulk of the time, it is the first, second, and fourth Fridays. You can, I would suggest that you count on first, second, and fourth Friday for the
And
deliveries.
If that doesn't work,
And you put in your order accordingly if you're doing the online ordering with Loaves and Fishes. Then you're just supposed to let us know, because I just like to keep a list of who we're delivering to. You've already placed your order if you're doing it with online with Loaves and Fishes, so that's secure. So you can wait until Wednesday or Thursday to tell me that it's on Friday. The only reason I like to know now for online orders is just because if it goes above about 12 people on the list,
Right.
then I need to carve out a little bit of my time so I can go over and bring the extra bags because they don't all fit on the van after
yeah,
that.
because you told me that they notify you on how many online orders.
They don't, and I have asked Grace to do that because it would be far simpler for the senior user to place one online order and then to know that the information was going to trickle down to me, than for you to have to place the online order and then you to notify me.
And then
So-
you don't even have a sign up sheet out early enough. Like,
The sign up sheet is out when the newsletter and the other sign up
right,
sheets
and
are out,
that,
yeah.
what happens if I forget to call or can't call, and I go to call in to put on the list because my order's already in,
Right, right.
and I get told I'm sorry.
No, that there would be no, I'm sorry, well, let me ask it, but why would you be told you're sorry?
Because the amount that, I don't know how many orders Sam is allowed to take on at the van at one time.
Again, we're never full. Again, the idea is that 12 orders fit on Sam's van.
Mhm.
If we go over 12 orders, it's not full. It means I need to go with him. That's all that means. So Loaves and Fishes is never full.
Okay,
We will never say we can't take the order. Loaves and Fishes will never say we can't do the order. It's just a matter of getting the right vehicles in the right place at the right time. So as long as you're placing an online order, I think you're good to go. The worst case scenario would be we pull up, Sam pulls up and he didn't realize there was an online order for you and it doesn't fit. And then he calls me on the fly and says, hey, I need you to come over and pick up. There's more bags than I thought.
Mhm.
We try to avoid that with the sign up sheet for the planning. The worst case scenario would be you signed up on Wednesday for the first Friday of the month, not realizing that there's a special event and we're not doing a delivery on that day, in which case.
She okay?
No, she's running off with my tea.
Oh, in which case, we would quickly be able to sort that out and figure out another day.
Okay.
So it's never full. Don't ever worry about that. That's not the issue. It's just this wider set of options for signing up now.
Yeah, because we don't even sign up.
Right,
Right,
there is no full. for
You're
Loaves
right.
and Fishes.
right.
I'm sorry I took up so.
Oh, no.
time.
Anything else?
I think those are great questions and I'm glad if you were asking them, maybe someone else is too.
Mhm. Barbara had her hand up, but
Did she leave? Yeah,
is she okay?
yes, she's okay.
Anything else?
Anything else?
I may have asked her.
I'm done.
So that's probably why she left.
Kim Karen?
No, I'm all set. I'm all set, thank you.
I make motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned at, what time is it?
3:54.
3:54.
Thank you.